I'm not sure. After this, we'll be talking about something equally as frustrating. The reason why this
Antonio,
conversation is, yes, sir.
it's the grain of sand in the oyster that makes the pearl.
That's
It's
it.
the irritant that manifests the jewel.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Without the irritant, there shall be no jewels. Some of y'all want to walk through this thing with ease and no bowel movements and no joint pain. You just want to get through this thing. That ain't how it works. That's not how it works at all.
Will you leave my jewels and my bowel movements out of this conversation, please?
I, I suppose so, sir. I suppose so. I suppose I will. Your topic today, I waited to give it to you last time. Your topic today is this it? Yes. Your topic today is let me not be so leading. Let me not start it off in my title. Yeah, no, I'm gonna do it anyway. A hypothetical person's choices and free will. And I'm already starting trouble by saying that in itself. I've already started trouble by saying that.
Did you say choices in free will or choices
and free will? Okay. God bless it thee, all of thee. And my friend Dr. Ferris is here we talked earlier. You say he gonna push the ant hive. Yes, that's what we're here for. I told him I love it. I love it. That's the whole point. I'm not gonna play all of this, but I need to play this to play the second video. Am I recording? I think so. Yes, I am.
Yes.
Crash Course Philosophy is brought to you by Squarespace. Squarespace, share your passion with the world.
Let's say, for the sake of argument, that you love your father, by which I mean you want him to be alive. And let's also assume that you don't have any attachments to your mother that you might describe as romantic. Well, guess who thought he felt the same way about his parents? Oedipus. According to ancient Greek legend, when Oedipus was born, a prophecy foretold that he would kill his father and marry his mother. So, in an act of colossally bad decision-making, his father left baby Oedipus in the wilderness, assuming he would die, and the prophecy would then not come true. But instead, the abandoned baby was discovered and raised by another family. As an adult, Oedipus learned of the prophecy that he would kill his father and marry his mother. So, not knowing he was adopted, he left his adoptive parents in order to avoid fulfilling that prophecy, figuring that if he wasn't near them, it couldn't come true. Lo and behold, as he was trying to flee his fate, Oedipus killed a stranger in a fit of rage who turned out to be the father he had never met. He then proceeded to marry the dead man's widow, who was actually his mother, though he didn't know it. Needless to say, this is a fate that any of us would like to avoid. But for philosophers, the whole point of the story of Oedipus is there is no escaping fate. Are we free? I mean, on the one hand, most of us have the clear sense that we are. We feel free. We feel like we make all sorts of decisions that lead to both beliefs and actions that are wholly of our own choosing, like I could do that. I had oatmeal this morning because I felt like it. This view that humans are capable of entirely free actions is known as libertarian free will. And to be clear, libertarian free will is nothing like political libertarianism. Both views get their name from the word liberty, but political libertarians are all about freedom from government intervention, while people who accept libertarian free will could be anything from political libertarians to socialists. They just think that metaphysically we can act freely. So a lot of us figure that our thoughts and actions are free, but most of us also believe that every effect has a cause and that everything that happens now in the present is the necessary result of events that occurred in the past. This view is known as hard determinism, and many of the people watching this probably think that they believe in both things, that many of your actions are free and that the world is governed by cause and effect. But it turns out you can't rationally hold both views, because traditionally libertarians have defined free actions according to what's known as the principle of alternate possibilities. That might sound like a plot device for a sci-fi show, but this principle says that an action is free only if the agent, that is the person doing the thing, could have done otherwise.
Okay, we gotta stop right there. That's the bomb video that started all this hoopla 11 weeks ago or whatever it's been now. You cannot hold both at the same time, no matter how much you want to. But that's not the point of this video, because I only played that video to get to a new video that I have not shown you yet, because I have been screwing with your noodle on purpose. That's what I do. I purposely wanted to mess with your noodle. We will watch this full video, or just about. This should make some of you feel better. This is not Antonio's view. Antonio gave you his full view yesterday. Today, I'm going to actually, change my topic to, what would I call my view of, this? I would call my view, what would I say? I would say, if I had to define my view, it would be the theory of temporal convergence and quantum determinism. Yes, that's what I would say. Theory of temporal convergence and quantum determinism. That's what I would call it if it was me. Okay. All right, watch this.
Crash Course Philosophy is brought to you by Squarespace. Squarespace, share your passion with the world.
Let me tell you a story that is disturbing but true. In the year 2000, a 40-year-old man was arrested for possessing child pornography and molesting his 8-year-old stepdaughter. The man had no previous history of pedophilia, and he said he was baffled and dismayed by what appeared to be a sudden turn in his sexual behavior. While he was awaiting his day in court, the man began to complain of terrible headaches. A brain scan revealed a large tumor in his orbitofrontal cortex, the part of the brain known to control sexual impulse. The tumor was removed, and it turned out, so were his pedophilic impulses. But about a year later, those impulses returned. Another scan revealed that the tumor had returned as well. So a second surgery removed the tumor, and the pedophilic behavior diminished, this time for good. Now, here's the question. Was that man's really horrible behavior a matter of free will? Or was it determined by what turned out to be a medical condition? Or was it neither? Could it even have been both? So far, we've considered two metaphysical positions regarding the freeness or not of our actions: hard determinism and libertarian free will. If you found both of them to be wanting, well, compatibilism might just be for you. Compatibilists believe, somewhat like hard determinists, that the universe operates with law-like order and that the past determines the future. But they also think there's something different about some human actions, that some of the actions we take really are free. This view, known as soft determinism, says that everything is actually determined, but we can still call an action free when the determination comes from within ourselves. It's like the difference between someone being pushed off a diving board as opposed to jumping. The result is the same, you end up in the water, but it does look like the cause is different. In case 1, the cause is the pusher, while in case 2, the cause is the jumper. Compatibilists say that in both cases the action is determined, that is, it couldn't not happen, but when the action of an agent is self-determined, or determined by causes internal to themselves, the action should be considered free. This means that we might have moral responsibility for our actions, since the determination for some of our acts can come from us alone. And this was something, you'll recall, that hard determinists seem to have to give up. But it's unclear how meaningful moral responsibility really is in this view. After all, if we're still determined just by our own internal factors, then in what sense are we actually responsible? Which brings us back to the man with the brain tumor. If a growth in your brain, which you have no control over, causes you to have impulses that you also have no control over, do you act freely if you act on those urges? Pedophilia-inducing brain tumors are luckily rare, but there are much more common cases that are similar. For example, should we hold people who suffer from severe mental illness responsible for their actions? After all, the causes of their actions are internal to themselves, so a compatibilist might be inclined to say that they're free. Yet it seems wrong to blame someone who's in the grip of, say, hallucinations in the same way that we blame someone who's not. What about someone who becomes flirty after a few drinks. Do we assign that behavior to the drinker or to the drinks? The drinker's actions are caused by factors internal to themselves. The alcohol, sure, but also their body chemistry, how much they ate before drinking, and who knows how many other factors. Last time we learned about the principle of alternate possibilities and the long-standing belief that in order for an action to be free, an agent has to have been able to do something other than what they've done. But contemporary American philosopher Harry Frankfurt challenges this idea by arguing that an agent could, in some cases, be morally responsible for things he does, even when he couldn't have done otherwise. We call these situations Frankfurt cases, which brings us to the thought bubble to explore one in this week's Flash Philosophy. Suppose there's a fervent supporter of the Democratic Party, and he comes up with a crazy plan to make sure his party wins the next election. He decides to abduct voters and plant devices in their brains, something that, as far as I know, neither party has tried yet. Now, these devices are designed to remain dormant unless a voter is going to vote Republican, in which case it'll activate and compel them to vote Democratic. Now, suppose that you were one of the unlucky abductees and you head to the polls with a device in your brain. But you've always been a lifelong Democrat, and device or no device, you have every intention of voting Democrat this time. You enter the polling booth, vote a straight Democratic ticket, and head home. Since you never had any intention of doing anything other than voting Democratic, the device was never activated. However, if you had decided to vote Republican, you would have been prevented from doing so. The principle of alternate possibilities says that you were not free in this case because you couldn't have done otherwise. Even if you tried to vote Republican, you would still have voted for Democrats. But Frankfurt argues you were still clearly responsible for your vote. You were responsible because you did what you wanted to do, even though you could not have done otherwise. Thanks, Thought Bubble. So what do you think? Not about the next election. I mean, can you be responsible without being...
All right, I'm gonna stop. Shucky ducky quack quack. I'm gonna stop. I have so much to say. So much to say.
Better not
But-
let Trump hear this.
Yeah, it's rigged. It's rigged.
Use.
It would be an interesting time. What we've done over the last 9 weeks or so is we have challenged your idea of whatever you believe. It doesn't matter to me what you believe. We just challenged it. Some of y'all believe that you have free will. I came right out the gate proving that incorrectly, but I let you make it. But the truth is, you've never made a choice a day in your life. I'm not arguing for determinism. I'm just telling you, you've never made a choice. You've never made a choice outside of some system. Remember, I introduced that last week and I never explained it to y'all on purpose. I'm going to now. But you've never made a decision in your life outside of some system. Easiest example for that is you did not pick the clothes you wear or the need to wear clothes. All these things were determined before you got here. So I did pick my shirt. No, you picked someone's spring catalog. You picked someone's choices of what you were going to choose. You did not pick your clothing. You picked someone's determined system for you. Everybody okay with that? I know you're not okay with that. Everybody understood what I said, though. And yes, everybody understood what I said. You're not okay with it, but you understood. Choice, for the most part, is an illusion set up by winners. I'll have to explain that later.
But you still picked it, though, dog.
I'm just saying, I will have to explain that later. Even if you're a hardcore Christian, God set before you a system in which you are choosing. So there's that right there.
Watch yourself. Watch yourself.
It is what it is. Limited options is not an objection to libertarian freedom. That is true. But once again, it's not what I'm arguing. But that is true. However, we're going to get deep into it. But I'm going to give you I gave you my argument last week. I'm going to give you the math behind my argument this week. That is uncontestational. Okay, go ahead, Otis.
Great. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
So a few weeks ago, you did bring this topic up, and thank goodness for time, because I did have some time to reflect on it, and now hearing it again and seeing it, I want to put something out there. One, in the first video, the kid believed that he would kill his father and marry his mother, right?
Yeah, and that's Dr. Ferris's favorite thing there because he's a philosopher. That's like one of the holy grail philosophical tropes that we use there. But keep going.
Okay, so the kid believed it, the mother, the dad, and so did his adoptive parents all believe it in their heads. They themselves manifested that reality. The same thing that everyone is telling us to do. If you want it, believe it, and you will see it. You will see action towards it. And in the second example that you mentioned, well, I put it like this. I wrote my notes. It's all what I tell you. And if I say to everyone on here, tomorrow you will see no less than 10 blue vehicles, guess what's going to happen? Starting tomorrow, for 24 hours from this time right here, you will see 10 blue vehicles. You're going to filter your mind out and act on what I said.
That's right. Without
you even knowing it. And being that that is true, either I hypnotized you or I have the free will.
If you give me an incentive, you definitely hypnotize me. If you tell me I'm gonna see no less than 10 vehicles and I win $1 million, I'm gonna make sure I see 10 blue vehicles.
You're gonna see it, and when you see those 10, you're gonna smile, and it's gonna happen. And if everyone on here believes that, or whether you don't, your mind filters out, and you will be like, dang, there's number 9. Otis was right.
Indeed.
He's right.
Indeed.
So is it free will or did I control y'all? Personally, with me, did I have free will in influencing your outlook on life? I don't know.
It's a pickle. It is a pickle. Go ahead, Phil.
I can only see 10 vehicles if I choose to leave the house.
If I choose to leave the house. That's right. So if that's the case, Jesus can only die on the cross if he chose to do so. All right. It makes sense. It makes sense. Okay.
What did Jesus on the, can you hear me?
Yep.
What did Jesus dying on the cross, was that free will or determinism?
That's it. What a great question. Was Jesus dying on the cross free will or determinism? And no matter how much you want to say it's free will, you're going to have a hard time doing so. But I'm waiting on Dr. Ferris to say something, chime in. You're going to, because it's what a great question, Ebony. I should have started the class off with that 11 weeks ago. Okay, go ahead, Phil.
Jesus committed suicide.
You Christians are not allowed to believe that.
I was waiting for Dr. Ferris to say something.
He was transitioning out his car.
Yeah, well, he did not commit suicide. Now you guys are gonna test me. You haven't seen much yet. You've never seen me get upset. He did not commit suicide.
I never said he committed suicide. Was it free will or determinism?
No. You Christians are not allowed to hold that belief, for sure. Dr. Ferris, that was a great question posed, though. Was it free will that Jesus died on the cross or determinism? Ooh, what a great question.
It was absolutely some form of free will.
Okay, I mean, some form of free will is fair because
it was a form of libertarian free will.
That's a bit stronger than what Dr. Ferris just said is something Jesus did has no cause whatsoever. It was without.
No. I didn't say it had no cause. That's not what libertarianism is. Libertarianism is the view that at least the strong version is that the cause is an agent.
Fair enough. Fair
And
enough.
that there is no constraint that forces his causal agency.
Fair enough. How much determinism would be in there? And of course, me and Dr. Ferris will be trapped here with Dr. Ferris specifically because according to scriptures, right? So you got this battle according to scriptures. How much determinism was there? And just to get out there first, I would argue 100% determinism.
I mean, there was knowledge. There was knowledge that had knowledge, but that doesn't make it determined.
That's a fair argument. I would argue 100%. It is 100% unshakable, undeniable, unfathomable determinism because Jesus wasn't allowed to be Greek. Couldn't have been Babylonian. Like there's so many different things that Jesus could. He could only be Hebrew. He can only come from the line of Abraham. There's so many different things. Of all the rivers, now this is something called typology here, which is a conservative left to right reading of the Bible. It's a little bit more than that, but I'm simplifying it for you all and throw it back to Dr. Ferris. He had to get baptized in the Jordan River because of what the scriptures say about the Jordan River. It couldn't have been the Hudson River. That I'm being facetious here. There's no Hudson River, okay, over there. I'm being facetious, but you get it couldn't have been another
river like less.
He could have only if now this is fair, and this is where me and Dr. Ferris strongly agree at. If one thing said before in what you all call the Old Testament did not happen or was allowed to be changed, then God would not be God. You believe in the resurrection not because Jesus rose from the dead. That's not why you believe in the resurrection. You believe in the resurrection because God kept his word. Than anyone who does not sin. No,
what's wrong with that?
No, I'm telling you, I'm not saying that wrong with that, right? I'm not saying that wrong with that. I'm saying the moment God does not keep God's word, God ceases to be God. Now, there's some nuances there. I'm just talking about God being a liar. I'm not talking about the pericope where the man Abraham says, well, what about can I if you just find me these people? And what about these people? Let me just get one of them. Can I just get one of them, Lord, please? Right? This is a different thing. We're not talking about that idea. We're just talking about that Jesus had to be a sheep to the slaughter because Isaiah said, he said it. Yeah, understand what I'm saying? So there's some determinism there. I 100% agree with Dr. Ferris, and I would say more though. He was modest. Dr. Ferris said there's some sort of free will. I would say Jesus acted fully in free will. And here's why. This is why I would act this. I'm saying Jesus used 100% free will. I'm saying it far stronger than Dr. Ferris said it. Here's why. Because if Jesus did not, this is if you're Christian, if Jesus did not use 100% free will, then there's no reason to believe God for anything.
I have to stop. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I have a hand up for a while.
No, you're good.
Because you're saying it's a 100% free will, but it says not my will. Not my will, but your will must be done. So if it's saying it's not my will, then obviously it wasn't Jesus' will to be dying.
This is a great argument.
Second of all, I got a lick. Wait a minute. I might not be able to jump back in here.
No, you're gonna get it there.
Because then it says, because y'all okay. That he has the choice to come down, but he knew that it was already determined what would happen if he came down. He couldn't come down because the determination was already there of what he had to do. And then I just want to touch on the suicide part. Because when you really think about it, if you walk into a room of people knowing that them people in that room about to kill you, you know how they say like suicide by cop or suicide by... That's what that was. He went knowing that they were about to kill him. So to Phil's point, when it say Jesus committed suicide, he didn't nail his own hands in, but he pretty much set himself up so that it would happen, because it was determined that it had to happen, because if it didn't happen, we wouldn't be where we are now. Okay, I'm done.
No,
I
let's
said I
stress
wasn't
all
talking
those.
tonight.
You keep your mic hot. Dr. Ferris, you keep your mic hot. In fairness to Dr. Ferris, with the he came down, that was something I was accidentally alluding to. He made no such argument. Okay, he made no such argument. Now, let's start there. Well, let me start in a different place to come back there. If Jesus did not use 100% free will, then you're not allowed to believe in salvation. I will explain. Because you're not allowed to say that Jesus tapped into determinism to do the right thing. There's another way we say that. You're not allowed to say that Jesus tapped into divinity to do the right thing. You must say Jesus did that 100% as a man, and 100% as a man, that is 100% free will. Because in order for you all to know that someone took on your sins, somebody, just one somebody, had to actually do it. If not, then the cross would be yours. Everybody got me? So this is why. Tracy's right. Dr. Ferris is right. This is why Christianity is so hard, because you got to catch it by faith. Go ahead. Go ahead,
I think we got to take the word free out of there then, because it's not free will. Because free will is the power of acting without constraint or necessity. Because free will is doing it when you know that there's not going to be some type of consequence. So it's not. So we can't say it's free will. We might say he made the choice to follow the directions of somebody else's will.
Okay, so now you're agreeing with Dr. Ferris. That's why Dr. Ferris explicitly said was some form of free will. That's exactly why he said that. It's exactly why he said that. It's for some form. Now, what he meant, he only talked for a few minutes, but some form. Okay. Now let's deal with this Jesus dying for a moment. That's not. Let me not piss y'all off. Let me not do that just at this moment. Let me not. I wrote down a couple of things. Said, not my will, but his will. Okay, not my will. Remember, my view actually solves this problem. But for some of you that just got on, let's welcome our new brother William here. Y'all welcome William. Welcome William. He's out there in Kentucky.
Hi, William.
Unmute your mic. Say welcome on. Yeah, unmute your mic. Let him hear a little noise.
All right.
Welcome, Mr. Williams.
Welcome,
There you go.
Second.
Welcome, William. I'm trying to be good tonight.
Absolute pleasure being able to be a part of this discussion tonight. I am deeply impressed with the thought processes that are going through this equation, because being a Old Testament minored in Old Testament interpretation and theology in college, I'm a product of Fisk University. For those of you who may know of that institution, and I'm just enjoying. I spent a lot of my studies in humanistic thought and expression, and that goes very much into the reasons behind why I studied economics. So as an economist, one of the things that's missing from a numeric standpoint, or one thing that's missing, is a lot of the social impact of, as I say, how numbers impact people. So as we speak to the subject matter of Christ, and then this, I call it illustration of death on the cross, as well as the free will that Dr. Ferris was speaking of, in respect to, was Jesus's death on the cross of his own free will. I throw in the mix that it was not of his own free will, but that it was in his perspective of obedience, based on something that was predetermined prior to him even being in a place to where he would be put in that position.
Then
So that's my take.
so the
I'm
next
gonna
time
leave it
you
at
turn
that.
around, no, you good. But just the next time you turn around and say, I got free will, no, you don't. Yes, you can't hold both of those. Right? You can't hold both of those. You can't hold both of those.
I believe in all humanity there are predeterminations. And that in those predeterminations, that what we exercise as our own free will is really not our free will. But we had a discussion earlier today in a meeting I was in about trauma, okay? And that when we all, in every aspect of life, from the standpoint of when we actually are born, we're born into some form of trauma, okay? And that trauma within all of us is an evolving thing within us, okay? That makes up who our DNA is. So through that process of trauma and our management of that trauma, those determinations began to create what I call preconceived notions and pre-existing things that are going to cause us to believe that we have some sense of free will when we don't, because we're making those determinations based on something that was beyond what we could control.
Okay, so there's a lot of let me explain. Dr. Ferris, get ready to go in like 3 minutes. There's a lot of truth in that. There's a lot of times when y'all talk, I'm talking to everybody now. A lot of times when y'all talk with assumptions. You don't realize you're doing it. I'm going to play a video for it. There's a whole thing for this. I'm going to play a video for it in a second. But 50%, he's right. He was halfway right. 50% of your personality you're born with. That's just what it is. What you think these chromosomes is doing? Which, I mean, you can't. You literally, you're born with half your mother, half your father, but your DNA is going all the way back to your lineage. Christians would say all the way back to Adam, which would be fair. So there's a lot of truth in what this brother is saying, because there is something. Now I need to set Dr. Ferris back up real quick. When I get past this difficult part, he's gonna have so much fun. But even though he's having fun right now, but this is gonna be great. Helpful. Y'all don't really know why you believe in Christianity, because you never chose Christianity. You were born into it.
That's why I believe it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, right? You were born into it, indoctrinated into it. You're not allowed to believe that Jesus did not make decisions to override sin. And Dr. Ferris would strongly call that free will. And so would Antonio. You're just not allowed to do it.
Okay, now that
it's
makes
heretical.
Sense to me.
Say it again.
That makes sense to me when it comes to free will. That part makes sense to me.
I see, Dr. Ferris, I was on your side. See,
Like,
I was on your side.
So I believe there's both and. I believe we have free will and we don't have free will. As far as the universal scope of our existence as human beings, period, we do not have free will. But in this physical realm, as humans, we have the free will to choose as humans if I'm going to I'm gonna stick with so we have free will to choose as humans. If I decide I'm going to slice his tires, or if I'm just gonna be the bigger person and walk away from it. Now that
and later I'm gonna prove to you that's not free will. I'm gonna prove to you with hard science that's not free will. And later I'm gonna prove that.
Well, my thing is, okay, I think you start to think of, okay, if I slice his tires, what's gonna happen? I may go to jail.
Then you should stop right there. That's not free will. That's not. If you're thinking about consequences, that's not free will.
Right.
If you've considered consequences, that's not free will. So you can.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Smith. It's time for Uncle Romeo to talk.
Okay, Uncle Romeo, I'm gonna get Dr. Ferris and Deanna and Grace. I'm coming back to you because he's got to leave at the top of the hour. Go ahead.
This for Dr. Ferris as well. Okay, so it's time for Uncle Romeo to talk. Okay, now as I'm listening to this wonderful discussion, Ebony, wonderful question.
Yeah,
excellent question.
I could have did 16 weeks on that one question.
But as I'm listening, I'm saying to myself, here's what runs through my mind from the scriptures. Your ways are not my ways, and your thoughts are not my thoughts.
That proves free will by accident, don't it, Jerome?
I hadn't finished.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm in the same boat that you guys are in reference to giving my point of view and your point of view. And as I thought about that scripture, I said, Jerome, what we're doing right now is what so many people do. We take a divinity like God, Christ, and the Holy Spirit. We figure out what we think based on what we've read, heard, blah, 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 like that. And then we take them and bring them down here to earth and put them into this little formula that says, here's what's going on. I shared it with the kids in New York. I said to them, I'm a Christian. I'm born again. Jesus Christ is my Lord Savior. But I believe that not because of what I know. I believe that because of what I've been told. Now, for me, that works. So everybody in here, we're going to respect differences. You know why? Because what you believe is based on what you've been told. And what you believe is what you've been told. The respect for differences is that key, because I believe that that's what's so important in this type of exchange. So I'm enjoying it and I'm having
That's
fun.
fair.
But I'm
That's
going to
fair.
leave all of that crazy stuff that ain't going to get me to heaven. Okay, I'm gonna leave that alone. Okay, because
That's
based on
also
what
fair.
I've learned thus far, he told me if I accept his son, that he was buried and he died for my sins, I have eternal life. Yay! Okay, everything else is minutia. Everything else is talk. Please feel free. Believe that. Yes, that's what Uncle Jerome got to say. But this is an excellent discussion. I mean,
It's
doing
needed.
it. That's all I had to say.
Well, okay, so to Tracy and Dr. Saber Fair said he missed too much of my argument throughout the weeks and he keep on ducking it out. What Tracy said last week or 2 weeks ago, well, why are we doing this, Antonio? It's the deal. If y'all believe in free will, why the fuck are you struggling? Let's just no. If you believe in free will, why are you struggling? Because if free will was free will, certainly you didn't free will yourself to be in your situation. Okay, this is why we're doing this, because what I'm trying to do is I'm attempting to get your prayers to be stronger. I'm attempting to get your manifestations to come faster, because when you know there's your part in this battle, and then there's an exceedingly bigger part of this battle that ain't got nothing to do with you. If you focus on just what you are supposed to, your stuff will come quicker. This is why we're doing this. This is why Jesus had a first order willing and second order willing. I feel it. That's fair. You got the floor.
I'm trying to figure out what's in my wine. Is it something special like a tequila worm?
It might be in there. It might.
Anybody had Miss Ina knows everything about wine. Does she know what is in Chardonnay?
No. If he got a tequila worm in there, it ain't no tequila worm.
No,
you need to pull that glass out.
I would say it's a piece of your cork.
Could be a piece of the cork.
It could be. That's safe.
It could
okay,
be.
Very
there
good.
You go. Look at these.
Very
look
good.
at these scientists on this call.
See,
look at that.
See, you're so smart, Miss Ina. You're so smart. So it's safe to drink, okay? Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, anyway, it's an alcohol, so it's rather safe.
Oh yeah, it's
unless you drink too much.
In there, okay. So let me tell you, Ina, as soon as you said that, every black person on this call, see, that's why you white people be dying in scary movies. For what you just said, every black person on the call just said that.
Oh well, a little worm.
No, we didn't.
What? Yeah,
They say no, we did.
The alcohol killed it, right?
Yeah. All right, Dr. Fred, you can say whatever you want to say. It doesn't matter. Whatever you want to say. Just know that I'm going to give y'all my view. My view, I believe 100% in free will, and I believe 100% in determinism, just not in a cop-out.
I don't know what that means.
I know. And when you left last week, I explained it in great detail, and I'm about to do it right now again.
Well, if you mean determinism and free will are compatible, then you have to explain in some way why the will is constrained, as it were, by either external or internal forces, and that's fine. That's compatibilism.
That is compatibilism, and I'm not. I actually, if I was going to get disgusted, compatibilism would do it for me, for sure.
But I would say that I just submitted a video of the varieties of libertarian free will given by Richard Swinburne.
Okay.
I think he's one of the most important thinkers on free will. And so if you're interested, check that out.
I got to pull it up.
Check that out. So wait, there was a lot said. Where I don't even know.
Yeah,
where
it's a so Tracy said probably the most profound thing so far on the call, but that's usually her custom. But Ebony asked the question, did Jesus go to the cross on free will or determinism, which is a fun thing to ask. Fun thing to ask. So let me just pause real quick. Tracy, you come in and you say something. And now I'm far more of a determinism than you all are. Far more. Let me, and after that, I'll give my view, then we'll bring Dr. Ferris back. I'll give my view.
No, my comment, Jerome, hey, I wanted to comment on what you said. You know, I love you, right?
Oh yeah, you Christians be like, well, only Jesus is my president.
Bring it, girl, bring it.
Oh my God.
Well, no. So I was just thinking about what you said when you said my ways are not your ways, my thoughts are not your thoughts. Yes. However, I was thinking about how I was trying to find the right scripture, but there's a lot of scriptures that talks about like God will reveal his thoughts to man. The Holy Spirit will give you wisdom and guidance and revelation knowledge. Those would be God's thoughts, right? And the thoughts might not be the same as ours. However, God will reveal his thoughts and God will reveal his ways and the things to do and not to do, right?
Okay.
So therefore, that scripture is true, but you have to add on to that because when you have a relationship, you will gain those thoughts and you can understand those thoughts and you can know those thoughts. So with that being said, is that really, that's not really free will either.
That's fair. That's a fair argument. When I ask y'all, if you got free will, why is you struggling? That was a real question. Deanna laughed at me privately in my messages. I hate you so much, LOL. It's a real question. Back to Tracy. And Jerome. My ways, not your ways. Your thoughts, my thoughts, not your thoughts. That's actually a strong argument for free will. It sounds like a strong argument for determinism. The novice would say, well, Phil, I mean, my ways, not your ways. God is providing a system, but what God is also doing in that scripture is admitting that you have thoughts and you have ways, and that is free will. And he's even saying so that your thoughts and ways are outside of his system of thoughts and ways, thus proving more free will. In the admission of what you have leads to the argument of you're not completely in a deterministic system. That, based on what Tracy and Jerome said, that's that argument. Based on that, here's my view, and let me help you out.
And Tony, before you go,
Yep.
My point.
I'm glad you did it because I actually didn't want to give my view yet.
Yeah, my thoughts and your ways like that. My purpose of that comment, for me, not for anybody on the call, is that for Jerome, I don't need to know whether it's free will or determinism. What I need to know is, in my day-to-day walk, in my day-to-day movement, am I moving in a direction that makes me happy, that makes me successful? That said, yeah, and guess what? I'm doing that. So guess what? I don't have to destroy or prove your analogy wrong, or to persuade you to believe mine.
Right. That's why your manifestations work and theirs don't. I'm trying to get them to get on your level. You see what I'm saying, Jerome? Like they are clearly messing up. I'm trying to get them to catch up with you. Do you understand? I'm trying to get them to catch up. Yeah, they won't catch up. They're not listening properly. They're not listening properly. And it's okay. It's perfectly okay. It's just what Jerome is saying is fair. What Jerome is saying is real. He would let's simplify this into like a Yolanda's Adams gospel song or something. The battle is not yours. Okay. The battle is not yours. And that's fair. It's fair that the battle is not yours. It wasn't supposed to be yours. It wasn't supposed to be yours, William. Wasn't supposed to be yours, Antonio. The battle was never supposed to be yours. Here's some hard questions for you before I give you my view. See, every time y'all say God died or whatever you say, every time you say that, my eyeballs itch. Every time y'all do that, I have a hard problem with that. I got in trouble in college. I wrote a paper in college arguing against Jesus dying on a cross. I was quite upset too about this. I argued. Now I got an 85 on the paper, and I was pissed off about the 85, by the way. I was supposed to get a 100, but I didn't prove my arguments properly, and it was like, well, you can't say this and you can't say that. Question number one I posed in this paper. Y'all ready? Can God die? See that? See, you can ask Dr. Ferris. Dr. Ferris was my professor. I've been a troublemaker a long time.
That's a good question.
It's a good question.
No, God cannot die.
Exactly. So I fall on the conservative theology. Jesus did not die on the cross. He gave his
Jesus
life.
is not God.
Those are different things. Well, okay, but Dr. Ferris make a different argument.
The sufficient designation of Jesus is to his human nature. Of course, the human nature is somehow related to his divine personhood first.
Fair.
That's the traditional view. That's the Chalcedonian view.
Absolutely.
But that doesn't dictate that his human nature, which is what died, entails that his divinity died, which is the suppositum of his human nature.
That's fair. In my paper, I argued that the human nature couldn't die either, based on Romans 5:12 through 22. That since the wages of sin is death, then Jesus would have had to sin in order to death. Therefore, since he never sinned, neither the divinity of Jesus or the humanity of Jesus died. I argued that, and I went to the gospel, I went to John, that he gave up his spirit. And I argued that under no I argued, if I'm not allowed to say the Jews murdered God, if I'm not allowed to say that Jesus sinned, then we must now come to the agreement that Jesus could not have died. Therefore, it's why it was necessary for him to say, it is finished. I commend my spirit to you. That is not a death as you understand it. That is a sacrifice, thus fulfilling the full Levitical sacrificial system, thus fulfilling the entire Mosaic covenant, thus fulfilling the scriptures. That's what I argue. I'm not saying I was right because I got a freaking 85. Do you understand? Just want to make it clear, very clear. But what I'm not doing, I'm not saying Jesus wasn't equal to God. I'm actually saying Jesus was. I'm not taking away from, I'm actually elevating Jesus' humanity. When y'all do it, you lower Jesus' humanity. I'm actually saying the real miracle of Jesus is that he was human who did not sin. Y'all are saying the real miracle of Jesus is that he was divine. That's not what I'm saying. We're saying the same things. I'm just putting far more reverence on his life than his death. You have such a 99% weighted death theology. I have a 99% weighted life theology. As I should, because according to the scriptures, it's far longer than the death in the ninth hour. Far longer. Far longer. Okay. Now, obviously, I did not prove my argument right. Oh, I proved it right, so I got an 85. I didn't prove it well because I got a stupid 85. It's just like that. I'm gonna always remember that 85. But the reason I brought it up is because y'all are thinking free will or not. And I don't want you thinking that. Not this late. I want you asking the weird questions. Can God die? And you heard Dr. Ferris, no, God cannot die. But I also want you to own your scriptures, and I want you to own that your word says man couldn't die if he had no sins. The wages of sin is death. You're gonna have a hard time fighting me on that one. I'm not making an argument. I'm making an observation. I'm not making an argument. That's an observation. That's not an argument. That's an observation.
Are we not?
Right? Who's that talking?
Are we not born into sin?
That's a whole different argument. I will tackle that in about 1 minute. Born into sin, interesting, because if we were born into sin, now you have the Protestant Catholic problem that we still suffer with today. Because if we are born in sin, then we baptize as infants. Because we're attempting to break Adam's curse. This is Tulip Calvinist total depravity thing. I won't get into too much of the theology. I'll let Dr. Ferris do that, as this is his bread and butter. However, I can answer the question. But then you say, well, Antonio, we got Protestants that still believe that we're born in sin. We don't baptize them. Now you got a whole different thing going on. Now you have this moment of convergence. And what y'all do is y'all have this made up period of, what's it called, Grace, that we got? When you get to a certain age, accountability, we call it something.
Age of accountability?
Age of accountability, which is so stupid. It's nowhere in the Bible. It's nowhere. It's absolutely not in there.
Is that the confirmation, like when you
so you're Methodist, you were born Methodist, she was raised Methodist, so confirmation and conversion
like we
I
have
want to answer so bad, but since I got Dr. Ferris here, I'll let him jump in. But they are, let's just say you have a higher form, you have a higher reverence for this idea of conversion, so high that you might as well be calling yourself Catholic in that particular situation.
Look at Amir's question.
There's also christening. When you're
christening is playing with water. That's all christening is. If
you're sprinkle on your head, and
that's playing with water.
Little
Amir asks, if the wages of sin is death, then we can't die because Jesus died for our sins. So,
but you sin though.
Without sin.
No, but if you have this idea of sin, you have sinned. And since you have sinned, according to Romans 5:12, Romans 5:12, 12 through 20, Romans 5:12 through 22 is what I'm trying to say. You will die. You have no choice. You have no choice.
What if you repent from your sins? Does it say
But you still have sin. See, now that's a different issue now, because if the slate is wiped clean, Lord, why am I still exactly?
So then the wages of sin.
Dr. Ferris will agree with me. Antonio will agree with me. Not a lot. You can scientific your way to Christianity all you want. You can born and raised in a church all you want. Two different ends of the spectrum. two seemingly diametrically opposed ends of the spectrum. But at some point, your scriptures force you to stop doing that and catch it by faith. Christianity is a revealed religion, whether you want it to be or not. To make this very serious, I have no idea what's going on in the comments. I only want to look at the comments to influence what I'm saying. You can be like Antonio and 2 + 2 is 4 and cognitive this. You can do that all you want to. Look at the mountains. There's got to be a God. You can do that, but I can't look at the mountains and say Jesus died for my sins. Can't do it. I can't do it. And you can be born and raised in the church and hear Jesus died for my sins and sing about Jesus for dying for my sins and never really receive Jesus died for your sins. Christianity, like any other religion, there's a point to where it stops being cognitive and it becomes revelation. It becomes you catch it by faith. So a lot of y'all arguments are making the assumption you don't need to pause and catch this by faith. That's the whole in most of y'all arguments right now. At some point, if you believe you're going to be a millionaire, you're going to get punched in the face. And at some point when you can be like, Antonio told me to do this. And if I do this, and if I set my LLC, and if I do, at some point, Phil, you just got to lean back and catch it by faith. Thus, with everything in life, you can only smart your way so far. You can only, I was born in the right situation so far. There's always a point where you have to leap and catch something by faith. And nearly all of y'all arguments was leaving out this element of this is not about being smart or logistical. It is about just throwing it up and saying, I believe that. Keep your belief. I'm just making you change your tone. Okay, go ahead, Phil.
Well, that's why I love it when I ask people, why do we have nothing written by Jesus? And I get a lot of responses from that. It's kind of fun. He didn't know how to write. Yeah, right. He's God incarnate. He had other people write for him. Well, it comes down to this. If we knew that he wrote this, everybody say, you have to do this. Jesus wrote this. You have to do it. So because he never left us anything, it all comes down to free will and faith. And if you knew exactly what the deal was, you wouldn't need faith.
That's fair. That's 100% fair. Now, that's the place I have to go a little bit. What I'm getting ready to do is I'm going to have ChatGPT explain to you my view. It's just my view did not come from ChatGPT. Just so you see, I literally said, please explain. I misexplained. Please explain this in headers and bows. But doing it no hard science, because that's what Antonio does. Explain it more as a philosophical thought. And this is my stuff, okay? This is my stuff. This is my stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to listen to ChatGPT talk, and then I'll tell you what I explained last week. But this time I'm going to do a hard science.
Exploring the depths of time and choice, Antonio T. Smith Jr.'s philosophical inquiry into temporal convergence and quantum determinism, redefining time through the lens of eternalism and the block universe theory.
Hold on, let me frame your thinking. The reason why I have a different thought process and the reason why you can understand what St. Lucia here last week is because I have a different view of time. It is my idea of time that makes me different than you. It is not my idea of free will or determinism. That's the assumption. Since I phrased the argument, free will or determinism, all y'all ever did was argue against free will and determinism. Antonio, years ago, went, well, the damn problem is time. Now, let's have this conversation.
Exploring the depths of time and choice, Antonio T.
Somebody
Smith
take
Jr.'s
notes while y'all
philosophical
doing this.
inquiry
Bullet
into temporal
points.
convergence and quantum determinism, redefining time through the lens of eternalism and the block universe theory. Antonio Smith Jr.'s theory introduces a groundbreaking perspective on time, viewing it not as a linear progression, but as an expansive, multidimensional space where past, present, and future coexist. This perspective is deeply rooted in the concept of the block universe, derived from Einstein's theory of general relativity. In this universe, time is akin to a spatial dimension, where all moments are as tangible and present as any physical space we occupy. The philosophical stance of eternalism underpins this view, positing that every moment of time is equally real, regardless of human perception, which typically prioritizes the now as the foremost reality. This idea challenges the conventional understanding of temporal progression and positions time as a vast, unchanging landscape where all events are forever imprinted. Unveiling a layer of indeterminism. While the block universe suggests a predetermined array of events laid out in a four-dimensional spacetime, quantum mechanics introduces a layer of spontaneity and potential chaos at the microscopic level. Here, particles exist in states of superposition, embodying multiple potential outcomes simultaneously, until an observation collapses this multiplicity into a single reality. This quantum behavior introduces the notion that while the macro structure of the universe might appear fixed, the micro level retains an element of unpredictability. The many worlds interpretation, MWI, of quantum mechanics extends this idea, suggesting that every possible outcome of a quantum event actually occurs, each in its own distinct universe. This theory aligns with Smith's idea that our choices, though seemingly free, are part of a broader, predetermined cosmic script that unfolds across an infinite array of parallel universes. The philosophical implications of temporal non-locality and retrocausality. Smith's theory also delves into more mystifying aspects of quantum mechanics, such as temporal non-locality and retrocausality. Temporal non-locality, an extension of the quantum phenomenon, where actions at one point in time can affect outcomes at another without any direct causal link, suggests a universe where time's flow is not merely one-directional, but a dynamic, interactive field. Retrocausality, a concept where future events influence the past, further blurs the lines between cause and effect, suggesting that our present choices might be both influenced by and influential to our past and future states. This complex web of temporal interactions paints a universe not as a series of dominoes falling one after the other, but as a sophisticated tapestry, where every thread is interwoven with others across the expanse of time. Conclusion: A New Vision of Existence and Free Will, Antonio T. Smith, Jr. This exploration into temporal convergence and quantum determinism presents a vision of reality where free will exists, but perhaps not in the conventional sense. Instead, what we perceive as choices may be intersections where our personal timelines align with the paths laid out in the cosmic design, visible to us only through the lens of the present. This philosophical exploration not only challenges our basic understanding of existence and agency, but also offers a more holistic view of our place within the universe. By integrating the deterministic framework of relativity with the probabilistic nature of quantum mechanics, Smith provides a nuanced narrative that respects the complexity and interconnectedness of all things across time and space. This theory doesn't diminish the value of choice, but recontextualizes it within a grander, multidimensional cosmic field, where the past, present, and future are intrinsically linked and equally significant.
Okay, all right. This whole 11 weeks or whatever, y'all been arguing with me and we've been talking. I agree with you. I agree you got free will. I never said you didn't. I agree there's determinism. I never said it wasn't. I just always tell you that's not what I'm arguing. That's not what I'm arguing. That's not what I'm arguing. Before we go, I'm going to give you hard math for this. I literally drew up my mathematical equations last week just for this conversation. Okay, just for this conversation. But before we do that, I want to prove a few of the things that ChatGPT said. All ChatGPT did was summarize my stuff. Okay, that's all it did. Right here it says, which typically prioritizes the now. The idea challenges conventional understanding of temporal progression, blah, blah, blah. This is important. Unchanging landscape where all events are forever imprinted. God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And if you be honest with me, every last one of y'all sacred texts says that every event your God has inside of, now that vehicle changes, but for God They're all imprinted forever. It just is what it is. Every sacred text argues that. And luckily for me, okay, Dr. Ferris says no. Show me, because I'm going to show you in Christianity.
No. I mean, well, I would say that only in Christianity, if you affirm some sort of tradition within wider Catholicity, do you affirm eternalism of some sort. But that is not demonstrably obvious from the biblical literature itself. There are many today who would affirm some form of presentism, where God not only doesn't determine the future, but he really doesn't know the future because there's nothing to be known yet, precisely because of their particular view on libertarian freedom that is predicable of both God and humans individually. So if you're saying that classically speaking, there is some sort of traditional view of God, that God is both eternal in his nature, that has some sort of implications for our reality as we experience, not just as we experience it, but for our reality as metaphysically determined. And you affirm that his knowledge is determinative. That's one thing, but not every Christian affirms eternalism. In fact, most today do not affirm eternalism. Most today affirm presentism. At least most Christian philosophers, Christian theologians, don't even understand the discussion we're having typically. Let alone any of the scientific data that you're going to talk about. But most Christian philosophers today, I think the majority is, and we can point to several studies, most of whom affirm some kind of presentism that's coupled with or conjoined with this kind of libertarianism. But all I would say is this: look, I find if I understood the definition that was read, I find it intriguing because I find some sort of theistic quantum mechanical view of the universe plausible. At least as I understand it, it doesn't necessarily rule out libertarian freedom, whether of a strong agential sort or of a sourcehood sort that I defined in the text. But I'm not committed to that view. So I withhold sort of commitment. But there's one fact about us that I think is really important in this discussion that we have to come to terms with together, or at least individually, and that is that there is in fact no way for you or anyone else to rule out libertarian freedom based upon scientific evidence, mathematical evidence, or any other public evidence, if in fact the fundamental fact that makes me me is only privately known by me and not by you. That fundamental fact that I know about myself that you do not have access to,
that's correct,
cannot be exhausted or comprehensively defined by any public evidence or any empirical evidence that we might put forward. It is something that is distinct from any kind of public evidence that we all have access to, and it's something that makes us radically unique, mysteriously unique as individuals. If that's true, then libertarianism is still on the table for discussion, because science itself is insufficient as an explanatory means for understanding or making determinate claims about individual persons. The most fundamental and interesting facts about individual persons is something that is private about each individual.
I would absolutely agree. Now, remember, I'm not taking away libertarianism or any form of free will. That is, I don't think that's fully understood by you right now. I'm not doing that. That's why I'm giving you my thing now. However, have I made you believe that? Besides last week, you got doggone right I did. Why wouldn't I? Because we were having a discussion that was based on y'all flow. Based on y'all flow. I never gave you what I think. Grace was like, no, you're going to tell us in week 4. And then finally I did, but I started giving it to you over and over and over and over and over. My definition would be compatible with libertarianism. Couldn't be arguable. It's a bit more complex than that, because a lot more complex than that, but fair enough. Is my definition compatible with libertarianism? Absolutely. Is my definition compatible with determinism? Absolutely, but it's different, which I'm going to get to. But in the meantime, if you could just present yourself to the chat. That's every single place that I can think of, that's off the top of my head, proving some form of eternalism, where all events happen or are stuck at the same time, etc. However you want to process it, I'm trying to keep it simple for you. Here's the deal. You no longer get to disagree with me here. I didn't say agree with me, because this is not my full argument. But you cannot look at scriptures objectively and then say I'm wrong. That's crazy. That's no longer objectivity. That is subjectivity. You're completely being a hypermodernalist. Don't do that, because we're having a discussion to where we can be all over the place. But in the meantime, those are your Christian sacred texts, proving that one little line that I said, which I would read out loud. Well, I didn't say it. ChatGPT said it. It's interpreting my stuff. Unchanging landscape where all events are forever imprinted. Everybody got it? Cool. Okay. Now let's play. So when you say, well, Antonio, but then I think you should argue free will too. Say less. I could do that with no problem. Grace, if you wouldn't mind, start reading. It's in the chat.
Okay. Wait a minute. Look, wait. Hold on. Okay. Start with providence and sovereignty.
Yep.
Okay. Providence and sovereignty of God. Ephesians 1, chapter 1, verse 11. In him we have obtained an inheritance, having been predestined according to the purpose of him who works all things according to the counsel of his will. This passage speaks to God's overarching sovereignty and his predestination of events according to his will, which can be seen.
Okay, I'm still in determinism. My next one's to come up. Anyway, you can stop real quick, Grace. Here's the deal. Okay. This is what I know. This is what I think. This is how it works. Time is our problem. And if you've ever thought about what's wrong with your life, if you would ever be honest, if I can just get you to stop being a Pharisee for one moment. If I can, so what is a Pharisee? A Pharisee knew the things, knew that they were being oppressed because they were sinning. And what did the Pharisees do? Know that they didn't have a temple. So what did the Pharisees do? Went and brought a temple out to the people. That's what the Pharisees did. They brought a temple to the people. Okay, go ahead, Deanna. Brought a temple to the people. And then King built a temple. Now, you know what? I mean, that's a temple, but we don't like that temple. I mean, that temple got the pagan stuff on it. Let's keep bringing the temple to Tracy. So these were righteous people. And if I can stop y'all if I could just stop you from being so righteous just for a moment, just for a single moment, you don't like your life. And how are righteous people in poverty. Help me with this. Because the two don't go together. Antonio, you can't say that. Okay. Wherever there is God, however you believe God is, there are blessings. Yes. And whatever God blesses, God grows. Yes. Only thing growing on you is your belly. See the problem? No, you see the problem? The problem is you fundamentally believe that wherever God is, God grows. But you never look at yourself and go, I'm not growing. And if I be honest with myself, I haven't grown since 2012. And if I really be honest with myself, I've been doing well financially, but the devaluation of the dollar and the inflation and just regular happenings of the world has eaten at my money so much that I've never made any changes to what I used to do. And now I'm in a bad situation. And that, my friends, is why I'm doing this class. Because I'm trying to get you to understand that the things happening to you, those are deterministic things that you got no control over. And what y'all do? I'm a child of God, therefore I can control. You know what? If you know spiritual laws, but not the white man's laws, you're gonna be broke.
Reverend.
Yeah, you don't like that? I'm sorry, but here's the deal. You can numb your whole Renge Kill all you want to. But election time is here, Susan. And something gonna change. Say what thou will. Something's gonna change. And as soon as you relax, they're gonna start another election season because election season is never over. After whoever wins presidency gets their 100-day honeymoon, they're going back on the campaign trail on 101. Ask Phil. He watches it all day. Ask Susan. They watch it all day. 2 things are going to happen. 3 things on this planet, 4 now, going to happen forever. Taxes, roaches, golf, and politics. These things ain't going nowhere. I appreciate you, William. They ain't going nowhere. Roaches ain't going nowhere. Golf ain't going nowhere. We can get rid of every sport. They ain't gonna never let golf go nowhere. You hear me? It's not going anywhere. I think it's the oldest sport ever, at least in modern period. Hear me well, please. If I can get you to stop being righteous just for a second, then I can get you to understand. You don't understand. And the moment you stop understanding, it's the moment you start leaning on something of a higher intelligence. Then you can solve your problem. Einstein has said that a man cannot solve a problem that his consciousness has created. Somebody just mentioned me. I ain't understood a word in this whole class. I understand. So let me give you my view. In layman's terms, does free will exist? Yes. Does determinism exist? Yes. Most people say both because they're too afraid to pick the side. It's not what I'm doing. My problem, my thing is I have a whole different view of time. I don't believe that time, I don't believe time stops when you die. And I don't believe time began when you were born. Most of y'all beliefs come from that place. You go, well, I know that, I know they had time before me, and I know it'll be time after me, but you don't give a blank, Tracy. You know it intellectually, but you come from a family that genuinely left you no legacy. And then they came from a family that genuinely left no legacy. And then they came from a family. Most of y'all here have had 17, 18 generations of family, ain't never left a legacy. Let me tell you what that means from a farming perspective. every last one of your ancestors looked at their garden and said, fuck these kids. I'm going to eat everything. I know you don't like it. No, you don't like my choice of words, but it's the only word that could have went there. Because when you look at your grandkids and go, you better take care of your own grandkids. Now you say, I would never say that. But if you ate 100% of the crop that came from your field, that is exactly what you said. That's exactly what you said. Just because you don't want to admit it doesn't mean you're not living it. And if you don't hurry up and change right now as we speak, you're going to repeat the same selfish reaping and sowing that your mother did. No offense to your mother. No offense to your father. They didn't do it correctly. Our job is to look at our field and go, this is for the grandkids and the great grandkids I ain't even gonna live to see. That's a good steward. That is what every sacred text says. But when you're in this free will, I got the free will, you don't realize that your garden will be here when you die. And it will be audited by something great up there somewhere. But us on earth, we're going to see you for who you really were. We're going to remember you for who we want you to be. We're going to remember you for who we loved you as. But you still going to leave us a bill for who you really were. They ain't like that. Otis, they ain't like that one, Otis. I can love you as much as I want to love you, but I still had to pay for that funeral. Well, you know what? Well, I had insurance, yeah, but I still had to pay for this. I still have to. Our job is to make sure that our legacy continues outside our free will. But you're so free will focused that has never been a thought in your life. You have never one time thought about your money should go way past your free will. But the wealthy people think like that. We do. Now, so my idea of free will and determinism is this. Somebody write this down. Antonio believes that time is everywhere. Even on timelines, we're not there yet. And since time is everywhere, for those of you who are new, we in it, this is about a 2-hour class. Since time is everywhere, if you want to believe in God, so is God, Jerome. And so is every one of your consciousness. Since I believe, listen to me, since I believe that time is in all places and in all things, then I also believe, I'm forced to believe, so am I. If a tree falls in the forest and nobody's around, has it fallen? You say, Antonio, that's stupid. Grace, there's a scripture
Antonio,
that you got. Yes, sir.
It's not has it fallen, it says, did it make a sound?
Did it make a sound? Did it make a sound? Grace, there's a scripture that y'all like to read. It's in Matthew. I believe it's in 25. Says something like, whatever you do unto the least of these, my brothers, you do also unto me. What you mean? What you mean? What you mean? You mean to tell me that Jesus, who is God, according to your, is Jesus God, Grace? Dan says, yes, you're supposed to stand on it, 2 feet, step on my vertebrae with it, paralyze me. You ain't allowed to believe that he's not when it comes to Christianity. Jesus, Holy Spirit, Father, they all God. Fair enough? Okay, if you're Muslim, you can believe, you have to believe that Jesus is an honored and revealed, wonderful, most excellent prophet who is also the Messiah who saves the whole world. I know you Christians don't believe that, but that's actually in the Quran. It's actually in the Quran. Jesus is the Messiah, will get mortally wounded at what you call Mecca and usher in 1,000 years of peace, which is one of your three views of Revelation. Amir, am I doing this okay?
You doing good, brother. You doing good.
There you go, fellow Muslim. Luckily for me, I have these conversations all over the place and I study all these things. Jesus is the only Messiah in the Quran. There's an antichrist in the Quran in your way of thinking. Moses just happens to be the see God face to face and spoke on God's behalf. The honorable Elijah is in Moses' spot. Because he spoke God's word. That's all. You make it offensive. It's not offensive. Allah and God are the same thing. And the lineage of Israel comes back to Abraham, and the lineage of Islam comes back to Abraham. Antonio, I sure can. Ishmael and Israel. There you go. Just so we're clear. The Quran, only sacred text in the world, says only sacred text in the world that says Jews, Christians, and Muslims are brothers of the book. So it's a bunch. Amir, did I do all right? I'm still on point.
Man, you on point. You on point, man.
Okay.
And we can eat with the Jews, you know.
And we can eat with the Jews. But Miss Christians would never eat with Jews. All right. So I'm proving that to say, whatever you do unto the least of these, my brother, you do also unto me. That's entanglement. Tracy, that scripture is saying somewhere spread across the universe, Tracy, if you don't take care of you now, there's another you way out there gonna suffer from it. You ain't like that. And then somebody, we're talking about other. Okay, if you mistreat Ina now, there's another Ina way over there somewhere that's gonna be mistreated. And you say, but I ain't mistreat. I love God. Do you love your brother? Do you love your neighbor? No. So you hate God. You hate God. Because whatever you do unto the least of these, you're doing unto me. See, I get in trouble because I'm conservative. Y'all out here, y'all be claiming to be conservative and stuff. And then when I ask you about theology, you be real liberal with it. You just be adding stuff into it. I don't do that. I take it for what it is. I take it for what it is. God told me, God told Peter, which means God told me. What the hell are you? My bad. That was Antonio's translation. My bad. Let me dial that back a little bit. Don't you dare call unclean what I have now deemed clean. But here y'all is out here hating gays, Muslims, Jews, and Gentiles. That's why we doing this. This is why we're doing this exercise, because your Jesus died for gays, Muslims, Jews, and Gentiles. Your Jesus did not die for your specific church. Just so we're clear.
Message.
This why your money messed up. Come on, Tracy. Come on, you get me out.
Man, I'm just over here like, man, talk about it. That's it.
This why your money messed up. Because your vibrations messed up. And your vibrations messed up because you got this whole free will only thinking.
Our vibration messed up because our teachers was messed up.
Your teachers was messed up. That called determinism to me. It's called determinism to me. It is. Listen, mate. Listen. I had to.
Deprogramming is the most difficult thing that we need right now is we have to be deprogrammed, or as Uncle Mishan says, that unlearn to relearn. Okay,
That's it.
we have to unlearn to relearn because we have all become traumatically damaged by what we have been taught, and what we have been taught is taking us away from our true prosperity. And that true prosperity, it was given to us by an authority that's greater than us. And we can't tap into it until we unlearn what we've been learning that's preventing us from being able to receive our inheritance and our blessings that have already been ordained way before us. So I applaud you for what you are doing in this, because honestly, while we're all sitting here worried about who's going to be elected president, we need to be more focused on ourselves and what we're and how we think and what we do. So therefore we cannot be led astray, okay, as lost sheep, okay? And we can be able to be allow ourselves to be re-shepherded into a new era of a new mindset
Re-shepherd.
that takes us to a new level of prosperity, because our prosperity is all around us.
Re-shepherd. That was good. I like that. I've never heard that before. That was real good. I like that. This idea of re-shepherding, that has a lot of weight on it. Yeah, some of y'all need to be re-shepherded out here following the wrong shepherd. Man, what you out here doing? I like that. Good job, William. I like that. Here's the deal. I'm doing this because everything William saying is correct in this particular case. And guess what? It's effing with your money. You got so much. If I get on it, if I go fuck shit right now, you get so offended by that, which has no condemnation attached to it whatsoever. But you talk to yourself terribly. Which is literally killing your health, your wealth, and your relationships. But the two curse words I just slipped out on purpose makes you offended. You are crazy.
Mind your damn business, Antonio.
That's about right. That's the appropriate response. It's crazy. Because remember, your kids will never live what you have told them. They will live what you have showed them. There will be nothing different. Ask Tracy. She got a whole 20-year-old. Tracy is way past the point where she can tell her daughter something. Whatever the hell Tracy showed her daughter is living. And Tracy just got to kind of get in there and coach a little bit. Let me get in there and plant a little seed real quick. I hope this work. What she can do? You can't bend no grown tree.
But that's the thing. Oh, that's good too, because that's the thing. It's the seeds that were already sown and shown when she was growing up. Because there's some stuff that she do now. I'll be like, "Where's that from?" And she be like, "I saw you do it," and I'll be like, "Oh, okay." And then, but it goes both ways, because then there's some things she might have seen, things that I might have shown, and she just thought, "Oh no, I ain't doing that because I don't want the results that came from when she did that." So it goes both ways, but it is what you show based on the seeds that are sown.
It is. And just so y'all know that I have hard science and hard. So this is all listen, when Susan asked me what I think about free will, she didn't ask me. I just volunteered. Told her name. This is right here. This is everything we've gone through. It took me all of this just to have a conversation with y'all. And y'all go, free will means this. You didn't use 13 words to try to prove me wrong. And here I got 13 million of them. Don't make no sense. But look, down here, that's math. I put it this way so you can understand it. This math. Let me tell you what this means.
That is Antonio math.
This is Antonio. Yeah, Grace don't like this. This is my math here, Grace. This is absolutely my math here. This is 100% my math. What it says, so what this one right here says, can y'all see it? What this one right here says is this is Einstein's theory of general relativity. And it tells us that no matter it tells us how matter affects energy and how energy affects the shape and behavior of space and space-time. So the left side of the equation, which I'll spare you the nerd talk, just call it Einstein's tensor. The left side, that's this part. That's this G and the what you would call an M and the N. That's not what it is. These are Greek. I'm moo and new, but I'm going to spare you this here. This side, and I do this. Yeah, I do this for fun, and I've been doing this for fun for like 20 years. The left side of this equation is explaining the curvature of space-time and how it's caused by gravity. The right side of the equation represents matter and the energy that is present in the region of space-time. So where G and those Greek letters is Einstein's tensor, where G is the gravitational constant, which is its own form of the equation, where T in those Greek letters, which mu and nu, which I would say is stress energy tensor, and where C is the speed of light and pi is the mathematical constant of 3.14159 and a bunch of other numbers that I don't feel like remembering right now. How you gonna argue with a man that got mathematical equations on you? This don't even make no sense. This means that what I've been telling you about time, either I can make a mathematical equation for it, or it's already there. The second one, this is about how your decisions behave across time. So I just need you to trust. It's right here. It's right here, Tracy. It's right here on the screen. But I just need you to trust that I did the math. I literally made a mathematical equation and researched mathematical equations for how your decisions work across time, and I can prove them with quantum mechanics. When a man has did that work, maybe you should go, okay, hold on, I need to strengthen my argument. And here's another one. Listen. Antonio, does time exist? Yes. That's right. Somebody just said, speak it into existence as it shall be, positive affirmations. Does time exist, Tracy? Time absolutely exists. What I'm trying to tell Tracy is if Tracy adopts my view, and don't adopt my view because I say so, you got your own free will. Do what you want. But if you at least be humble to my view, because that's a vibration. Just because you're humble to something don't mean you allow it. There's a bunch of stuff that I submit to that I don't allow. Just because I submit to something don't mean I allow it. I submit that you can be on this BS. Don't mean I'm allowed in my reality. I just humbly submit to you and say, I see what you did there. But you're going to do that there over there. Those are two different theirs. You see that there present reaction you got? There's a woman out there, there's a man out there that loves that about you. It ain't me, baby. It ain't me. I ain't even gonna lie to you.
Mr. Smith.
Come on now.
Yeah. For those of you who are new, I want to say to you guys, and he knows I hate doing this. In the past, I don't know how many years ago you did this. He took quantum physics and showed me Christianity.
I've been doing it for years.
And I sat there in total disbelief, not because he did it, but that it was done. How in the world can you take math and show me Christianity? And he did, and it wasn't flaky. Now, don't ask me to try to explain what he said, because I can't. But I knew it was true. And I said to myself, this boy crazy.
They said the same thing to me in college.
Because how can you take math and show me Christianity? And he did. And I'm sitting there going, and listen to me, just like I said about him and Deanna being married. I told both of them, I'm going to get y'all. Because Romy Rome don't miss nothing.
That's too funny.
They slipped that in, got by me, and I'm sitting there going, huh? No, you don't do Romy Rome like that. They did that to me.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up because Susan said something too. I'm glad you brought that up. Susan, and there's a private conversation between me and Susan complimented Monique in such a beautiful way, and then complimented the kids, and then complimented me. And that same day, I forget who I was talking to them. I remember Susan, because the other person was irrelevant to me. Said all these glowing things about Monique, and genuinely said, and I can't believe how much I love each other. There's no drama going on. I need to be like you. And I've thought about that. This was Susan, when you said that, how long ago was that when you said, you didn't say the last part, the other person said the last part, but how long ago was that? It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. I watched, the whole progression of everything. And
that's exactly what you said. You said those exact words. Yep.
and how you are now together. And Diana.
No drama.
Yeah, no drama. And how a lot of times they come over for this class, don't they?
She in the background right now.
Yeah, that's what so I really felt that and feel that. And, from when I first was with you and everything going on and how it's beautiful.
No, I appreciate you. So I'm going to speak on Monique's behalf. You're more than welcome to jump in. I'm always saying nothing positive, so I can't get in trouble. I'm only going to say nothing positive. It'd be impossible to get in trouble here. But this is a great point of what I'm talking about, because at some point, Monique had to look me dead in my eye and choose her own prosperity. Not with violence, not with drama. Just she had to say, it's my free will. I get some things or blah, 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 whatever that may be. But I choose the things of the Bible or whatever the hell she said. I know what she said. You get what I'm saying? And that's not easy. It is not easy to stand in confusion and choose you. But that's exactly what Monique did. And that's exactly why our kids behave the way they behave. And that's exactly why our kids don't have no childhood trauma. If y'all gonna mute your mic real quick and applaud for that, I sure appreciate you. You're giving it to Monique. You ain't giving it to me because I'm
Monique, yay.
There you go. Good still. I ain't doing that for no points. I don't care. Y'all know me enough. I don't care. I think whatever I think, I move how I'm gonna move. If you die and I ain't going to your funeral, I'm gonna tell you while you living, I ain't going to your funeral. It just is what it is. It's just kind of man that I am. It's just trust.
Wait a minute.
Shit.
You ain't coming to my.
No, I'll be at your funeral. I'll be at your funeral.
Okay.
I'll be at your funeral. I'll be at your funeral. That's a small list though. That's a small list of funerals I'm going to attend before I die. You hear me? It ain't that many. I don't go to funerals to pay respect. I respected you while you was living. I go to funerals for soulmates. You hear me? That's what these people sit funerals I go to. Anyway, you have to, at some point, you're going to have to admit that, man, I can't control everything going around here. But you know what I can do? I can be happy every time I look this boy in the face or girl in the face or credit card in the face. That's up to you. I can't tell you what to do. I know Monique has mastered it. I can't tell you nothing else. I know Antonio has mastered it. Can't tell you nothing else. I know my kids have mastered it. Or our kids have mastered it. Can't tell you nothing else. I can only tell you that if you don't fix it, if you upset about something, if you huff and puff when this call is over, you fucking with your dreams. That's the only word. That's the third time I dropped the F-bomb, but it's appropriate. Every time I dropped it, it was appropriate. Because should nobody be able to bleep with your dreams? How dare you love me so much that you let me F up your dreams? Nah, y'all not listening.
Say that again.
Thank you so much. How dare you love me so much you let me F up your dreams? It is never your responsibility to love me so much that I piss you off and stop your vibration from vibrating for you. But that's what we do. We get so focused on proving Dion wrong and how much Dion hurt me. It is not your life's purpose to prove how much Antonio hurt you. The hell wrong with you? That is you were not born from your mother's womb. And your mother said, okay, baby, you my bundle of joy, but when you 43 years old, you're gonna be pissed off at some guy. Y'all don't want to hear me, but that's okay though. I know I'm telling the truth. Every single time you get caught up in proving someone wrong, you are in their dreams and not yours. Thank you, Phil. How are you in your dreams when you all the way in their harvest trying to tell them how they wrong? And let me tell you something, narcissists manipulate you like that. Because a narcissist is never, ever, ever going to admit that they are wrong. So while you out here trying to get validation from Antonio, you ain't validating your dreams. So when God finally comes through and say, "Ooh, I see you, Antonio," I'm like, get that away from me, God. I'm mad at Monique right now. Nevertheless, not my will, but your will. It's all good. You didn't want this, apparently. But that's what we do, though. If you think about what anger really is, anger says, F everything else outside of what this anger is directed to. And how's that working out for you? And how much of that is free will? Because you know what? I'm going to show you. I'm sorry. I know where I'm going. So sometimes I laugh at myself because I know some of these videos will piss you off. And I really need to stop being so petty about this because I get joy angering y'all about these new thoughts I haven't thought about. But you need to watch this here.
Wait. How you get joy?
Huh?
How you get joy angering us? But you just told us anger makes us leave the money. What are you doing?
Okay, fair enough. Two different forms of anger. Anger does leave you. I enjoy what I'm calling anger is cognitive dissonance. I enjoy frustrating you because if I'm frustrating you, you're letting in a new idea. That's why I enjoy it so much. It's a new idea. Watch this here, y'all. This is because I'm getting ready to end. This is
every day you make decisions and judgments. Sometimes you're able to think about them carefully, but other times you make them on the fly using little information. This is where heuristics come in. Heuristics are straightforward rules of thumb that we develop based on our past experiences. They're cognitive tools that help us make quick decisions or judgments. Life would be exhausting if we had to deliberate over every one of the hundreds of choices we make every day. So instead, we use our heuristics as shortcuts to make judgments about the world around us. For example, rather than spending time deciding what to wear every day, you might have some default outfits. Or when faced with a lunch menu with too many options, you may opt for what you've enjoyed in the past. Heuristics aren't about making the perfect decision or judgment, just about making one quickly. Heuristics play a role in our reasoning about the broader world, too.
Okay, we can stop right there. Bet you didn't know that existed. Wait a minute, heuristics? Wait a minute, like I'm not really making choices? I'm conveniently doing things because I have a framework of things? And then you argue, but I didn't make that choice. You didn't make that choice. You just like chicken and beer. So you made that choice. And in America, it has 98% chicken in it. All you do is eat. We eat so much chicken in America, every time you taste something new, you go, tastes like chicken. No, it tastes like chicken. We just eat too much chicken. It don't taste like chicken. We are crazy. We are a fat country. It doesn't taste like chicken. No. Go ahead, Phil. And I'm gonna give some powerful closing thoughts. Go ahead.
Path of least resistance.
That's the greatest way to describe heuristics. It's the path of least resistance. What does it do? But I'm gonna use me and Monique, again, this is a great example of this. This is a great example of heuristics or whatever. I can't think of, I'm just telling you this. Everybody knows me enough to know I'm a straight shooter. I'm cussing in my head and all with derogatory words aimed at whatever you think. I just say them in silence. I don't care. I can't think of a time. I can think of one time. This ran maybe posted a two that I didn't necessarily like. That doesn't mean it was wrong. See what I just did there? Just because I don't like something doesn't mean it's wrong. See it again? I see. So some of you married folk, I gotta say it the third time so it can sink in your head. Just because your spouse do something you don't like, yes, does not mean Monique, my spouse, is wrong. You understand what I'm saying? Now watch this here. I can't think of a single time in my whole life, my whole existence, that Monique has done wrong to me and would. This is a great example. Heuristics. This is a great example. This is me, my story. I don't know. You want to say something? Okay, she smiled over there saying, I ain't saying nothing. All right. So, just here's the deal. I can't think of a single time that she would do me wrong or that she has. Anything, and I've admitted this to y'all before when she wasn't here. Anything that she ever did wrong, I told you, an old lady called me out and said, how dare you pick that woman for something she wasn't made for? Oh, no, you picked her for something. Now you judging her for something God ain't make her for. Y'all remember that? Did I ever tell you that story? Okay, she's shaking her head. I told her that story. She's shaking her head. The camera on. All right, she don't want to put that camera on. Like, my perception, my heuristic thoughts was messing with my view of Monique. It ain't nothing to do with her. And you know what? As long as I treated her that way, I ain't had no money. You ever thought about that? I ain't had no money. As a matter of fact, we're gonna bring God in this, Jerome. I swear to God, this is the truth. Three things happened that punched me in the throat. Punched me in the throat, Dion. Thing number one, my business was going was the ministry. It was like out of control, successful. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. My home life was dismal, and I was trying everything for it not to be. I couldn't pay bills on time. I couldn't keep no car note. I just couldn't do nothing. Everything I was touching was effing up. Everything I wasn't touching was going well. That was God going, you don't control the doggone thing around here, boy. See, some of y'all need to be humbled. See, I needed to be humbled, Grace. What I was trying to fix, what I was trying to control was trash. What I had no control over was the only prosperity in my life. God was trying to show me. Your hands don't fix nothing around here. This the whole time I mistreated Monique. Am I lying? All right, now unmute your mic. At least say on the damn mic, just so they know that I ain't making this up. Because I want you to know she hear me right now. She
I think you're making it up. I think you're making it up.
Yeah. Well, come over here. Come over here on the camera, then. Come over here on the camera. You don't know how to unmute over there. Oh my God! Come over here on the camera. She ain't coming, y'all. She ain't coming. She ain't coming at all. As long as you understand that every time I held those two views, poverty. Then the third view came. I wouldn't pay in tithes and offering. Now, this ain't got nothing to do with y'all. This ain't got nothing to do with y'all. This only got something to do if you believe in it. This ain't got nothing to do with y'all. I'm only talking to Jerome and Grace and them. I ain't talking to everybody. And I remember I had 17 accounts at the time. And I swear to God, this is the honest to God truth. $1,653 overdrawn between all 17 accounts. When Tempest calculated what I should have been paying the tithes, it was 1,670. Now, if you believe in God, you know that to be true. Like, God doggone right, don't play with it. When a man robbed God, well, you rob me, tithes and offering, right? These three things happened to me to where I while I'm going and complain to some old lady, and that old lady told me, now you picked this woman to be safe, to be secure, and to have your children. Does she provide safety for you? I said, yes. Does she take care of the kids? I said, she's the greatest mother I've ever seen. She said, what the hell wrong with you? Now that you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to take a risk, you want to tell God to punish her for not being who God made her to be? I ain't complained since. That was like 2013, 14. I ain't complained since. Anytime I try to slip out, I'll be like, you know what, I'm tripping. Let me just. And that's how most of our stuff go. She submit, I submit, it is what it is. Here's what I'm trying to tell you. And I got 4 minutes. Somebody say that old lady verbally whooped your and I needed it. You hear me? I needed the whole spanking with the birthday licks. I needed all of them. I needed all of them. This is what I'm trying to tell you. Me and Monique are a fantastic example for this. But forget Monique. Fuck her for a moment. I mean, sorry. But forget her. No, because she ain't got nothing to do with just the last part of this conversation. What got something to do with this part of the conversation is this heuristics. Because see, heuristics ain't got nothing to do with her. My heuristics ain't got nothing to do with her. You understand? So that's why I'm saying forget her. Because she can't control the bull jive in my head. See, I don't want to, they don't want to listen to me. They don't want to listen to me. So in my head, heuristically, anything that she want, she gonna get. I always tell her I ain't got no money. She'll never believe me. It's like an inner house joke that they apparently they all in on it, but whatever. I ain't got no money. Whatever it is, it's gonna happen. She shopping for a whole brand new house. She ain't gonna never have to have no job because heuristically, I now understand that this woman ain't never did nothing to me. She gave me 3 wonderful kids. And anything that I was thinking, I was on that bullshit. And so now I owe it to her to make sure that anything that comes in, she has no choice but to receive. Now, that may sound strange to you. But Susan, that's what you're observing. It may sound strange to you. But under no circumstances is she, can she, will be any bee, honeybees, bumblebees, yellow bees, all them bees, and the bees in the street. Those are different bees. That's a different bee. That's that bee that got you messed up. That's about the FAFO. That's a different bee. These bees, they cannot stop what has come is going to come to her. Why? Because I got my free will and my determinism together. My closing thought, well, my last thoughts. Because I just know that everything is perfect. And I just said to myself one day, you know what? It is what it is. And the only thing I can properly do about it is just know that it is what it is. Appreciate that it is what it is. And make sure with my free will, she is spoiled beyond measure. I get, she get. And nobody's going to stand in judgment of that now or ever. No slugs intended. Now I ask you something. Because I am super blessed. It's dumb blessed how blessed I am. I'm so blessed. I'm still not cashing in on some of these. Do you understand how blessed you got to be not to cash in on blessings? Do you understand the arrogance you have to be like, God, that was a good one, but I'm gonna hold off on that one. I don't really want that one, Lord. I show like the amount of faith you have to look at $40 million in blessings and saying, I know you could do better than that. Do you understand the ignorance of that? Some of y'all never gonna get it. That's okay. I pray you get there one day. I pray you get there one day. Just get fundamentally. Oh, this was supposed to happen. That's why to this day, the only person on this planet I think ain't never trip, don't never trip is Phil. He's the other person. I'm just convinced Phil just goes, it's gonna work out. It's gonna work out. It's gonna work out. I'm just convinced Phil just does that all like soon as like he showed do Antonio, help me. Help me. He's the only person I know that just figures it's going to work out somehow. And you know what? He always right. It always works out somehow. May we all just look around and go, this was supposed to happen this way. And I shouldn't be mad at Otis because me and Otis had an argument or two or didn't work out the way my expectations did. We still friends. We still work out. We just didn't work out to my heuristics. You missed it. I'll do it again. We just didn't work out to my heuristics. We work out just fine if I let this shit go. If I let this go, I can love my husband. But as a wife, I got some heuristics going on, and I can't see how much my husband loved me. Somebody needed to hear that. I can't see how much my husband loved me. I can't see how much my wife loved me because of this stuff going on. And that's determinism. That's William and Antonio. I'm just saying names. And Grace, you effing up your life because of some stupid word you don't even know the meaning to. If you really believe free will, then free will yourself to some wealth. But you can't be wealthy without health. If you're going to call it prosperity, it is a wholeness thing. Your relationships got to be in prosperity. Your wealth and your health got to. You can't be a millionaire on the verge of a heart attack. That's not prosperity. That's you mastering money. That's not prosperity. You can't be a millionaire and your kids hate you. That's not, nope. That means you sold your soul.
I have a question.
Yeah, you can't even leave your kids a legacy. Go ahead.
When you said you can't be, okay, you said you can't be wealthy and on the verge of a heart attack. That's right. Right. That's what you said.
Right, because y'all think wealth is prosperity.
Right. Okay. Can you explain what happened with Bronny James?
Bronny James is in the process of writing his story that will be remembered forever. A heart attack was a part of it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
A heart attack as an 18-year-old on his way to becoming the way he got to the NBA. That's a part of his story that would be remembered forever. We all accept and write our stories as we see fit. But I know what? This is a great way. Grace, time for 1 minute. I know what? I know you can't handle LeBron James Jr.'s son pressure because he got folk hating him because they hate his daddy. Do you understand? To have a dad that ain't did nothing wrong to nobody, then all that dad did was threaten your childhood alpha hero basketball legacy. We killing people over basketball. We hate kids over basketball. That's what we doing these days. We hate somebody's son over basketball. Hey, you heard about Phil? Phil, I play basketball. That don't even make no sense. But that's what we doing. But you know what? He still got $4.9 million contract now in California that goes out to like $1.6 million because of taxes, whatever. Here's my point there. That 19-year-old kid, 20-year-old kid handled this conversation a lot better than these 51, 60-year-old kids on this call. Prosperity has no age, but it does have one voice. And I can assure you, if you truly believe in free will, and Antonio is arguing that you should, but if I can't see your harvest, I'm going to tell you, no, you don't. If I can't see what God is doing in your life on this planet, you do not believe in free will. You believe in your mama's free will, your uncle's free will, some version of free will, but you don't believe in yours. I believe that I'm one of the world's first trillionaires, and nothing's going to stop me from getting there. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And with $1 trillion comes worship and adoration and giving it all away. I'm going to do it completely different. And there is nothing, Tracy, you can take from me to say that. You can call me a fraud. I don't believe I'm a fraud. That's your free will. That ain't my free will. I don't give a damn what you think. Say what you want. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. We may do it with some cuss words, but we can serve the Lord. You understand what I'm saying? I'm a cussing Christian. That's what Grace would say, even though I'm not sure how much Christian I am. But you get the point, though. A cussing Christian. I'm going to cuss you out. I'm going to make sure you have a good funeral. Your homework, stop doing heuristics and passing it as faith and belief. Tony L.T. Smith Jr., you can plan better. You can dominate. Love everybody. It's Jerome's fault. The whole class is Jerome's fault. If you don't like it, it's Jerome's fault.
Love you more.
All right, y'all. Y'all have a good one.